bleeding purple and gold. From the heart of Los Angeles, this is the LakersNation.com podcast with your host, Trevor Lane.
Hey everybody, welcome to today's show. As always, we are powered by CLNS Media and LakersNation.com, your home for everything Lakers. Today's show is brought to you by Uptime Energy Drinks, how energy should feel. Go check them out on Amazon.com, pick them up at 7-Eleven or GNC, and RXBAR. Head over to RXBAR.com/LakersNation and get 25% off your first order. Well, we are just weeks away from the beginning of the Lakers season. Preseason games are going to kick off in just a couple of weeks here. So we've got a ton to talk about, a lot of different storylines to dig into. I thought today we would just kind of take a look at all the big storylines heading into the Lakers season and wrap them all up, put a nice bow on it. So joining me is Hannah Kulik of LakersNation.com to help me sort through everything. Hannah, how are you doing?
I'm doing great, Trevor. Thank you so much for having me on. We have a lot to talk about tonight.
We do, and let's jump right into it because we are recording this Sunday night, and word broke recently, it was just yesterday, that tomorrow, which is Monday, which is today for most of you who are probably listening to this on Monday morning, Jimmy Butler is going to be meeting with the T-Wolves, and we've been hearing rumors for a long time that Butler is not too thrilled with being a member of the T-Wolves. He doesn't get along with his teammates, and he's just got some issues there, and now he's meeting with ownership, he's meeting with management to have a frank conversation, and some are anticipating that a trade request could be coming. How do you think this could impact the Lakers, and could they maybe jump into the market here and try to trade for Jimmy Butler right now?
You know, it's interesting. I actually did a podcast on this topic this morning, and obviously as Laker fans, we're kind of used to these rumors. We've just seen them come up time and time again with pretty much like every player in the league at this point. However, now that we have LeBron James, we have a little bit more star power, and there's a little bit more reason to believe the rumors that these players want to come play for the Lakers now. And in terms of Jimmy Butler, listen, I actually went back, and obviously now we know him as one of the best players in the league, but it's actually funny because he was drafted as a 30th pick in 2011. He had an okay college career, but he was really nothing special, and no one really ever considered him or expected him to be this big star. But then here we are now almost 8 years later. He's a four-time All-Star. He's made the All-Star team both in the Eastern Conference and in the Western Conference. He's a four-time All-Defensive honoree and a two-time All-NBA player. He's one of the best players in the league right now. And obviously, if, the Lakers have the chance to get him and pair him with LeBron, it's definitely very tempting. I don't necessarily want to do it right now because it would take trading at least one member of our young core, and I don't want to do that. Maybe, once we get into the season a little bit closer to the trade deadline, we would be able to trade KCP. I know right now we're not allowed to trade any free agent that we signed until December, so I would rather wait a little bit and be able to sign or be able to trade one of our free agents that we got instead of our young core, because I don't want to trade any of our young core. But at the same time, you have to, if you're the Lakers, you have to at least ask about it and see what they would be willing to take for a player like Jimmy Butler.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you can kind of just touch base with them and see what they want. But my thought process is, why would you give up assets now for Jimmy Butler when you declined to do so for Kawhi Leonard? You declined to do so the season before for Paul George. The Lakers SOP for this, their standing operating procedure has been to just wait until this guy becomes a free agent and then pursue them. And that didn't quite work out with Paul George, but it doesn't mean it's not going to work out with Kawhi Leonard. Doesn't mean it's not going to work without Jimmy Butler. Jimmy Butler has a player option this coming summer that would allow him to become a free agent. He's only due about 19, maybe 20 million tops. And so it makes a lot of sense for him to opt out of that and then become a free agent. He could get paid somewhere around 33 million or so. So there are tons of reasons for him to go ahead and opt out and hit free agency, whether he's a Laker, whether he's a Timberwolf, whether he is a Miami Heat. It does not matter which team he's with. It makes financial sense for him to become a free agent. So do you really want to give up assets for a guy who's going to hit the free agent market next summer, just about no matter what you do? I just don't think so. I think there's no reason to change that strategy now. And I do like Jimmy Butler as a player. There's a lot of people who just kind of say, oh, he's not that good. He doesn't move the needle or anything like that. No, this guy's very good. 89th percentile on offense per synergy, 81st percentile on defense. He is a star player. He is the kind of player you want to add to this Lakers team. But I just don't think you give up the young assets to do that when your strategy so far has not been to do just that.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. And, now that we have LeBron James, we kind of have the ball in our court. We have more leeway to take our time and really be careful with these decisions. Whereas before, we didn't have any other star players. So if we wanted to try to go out and get one of these big name players, we were going to have to make trades and really make sacrifices. Now we absolutely don't have to do that. So like you said, we didn't do it with Kawhi Leonard. I don't think we are necessarily going to do it with Jimmy Butler. Again, I think you definitely inquire. You ask the Minnesota Timberwolves kind of feel around with it. But again, I don't want to trade any members of our young core, and that is what it's going to have to take. It's probably going to take the same as like a Kawhi Leonard trade, probably 2 of them and maybe even a future first-round pick, and I'm not willing to do that.
Right. Hannah, you bring up a good point there. As far as the LeBron thing, what him signing for 3 years plus a player option for a 4th year gives you is that sort of leeway, gives you the ability to be a little bit patient. If LeBron was on a 1-year deal, or if he was on a 1+1, which we see a lot of players sign these days, if he's on a 1+1 where he's got a player option for that 2nd year, then yeah, you kind of feel that pressure to go ahead and make that trade right now and try to bring in somebody to help you win now, because otherwise maybe you risk losing LeBron next summer if you don't go ahead and make those moves right now. And that's the situation that the Cleveland Cavaliers were in for pretty much forever since LeBron came back. So the Lakers now have the luxury of being patient because they know they have LeBron in-house. They know he's not going anywhere. So they don't have to make a panic move. They can wait and find out what Kyle Kuzma is going to be, find out Brandon Ingram, what he's going to be, Lonzo Ball, Josh Hart, all these young guys, find out if any of them really pop and become a star player. And maybe it's just me, but I want to see that. I want to see what Kyle Kuzma can be after hearing about all the amazing things about his workouts. And I know a lot of fans agree with me. I want to see what Brandon Ingram becomes and Lonzo and all of these guys, because it seems like they've got a really good young core. And if they can break out just a little bit, they could have something really, really special to head into the summer of free agency of 2019 and then lure in a big star that way rather than give up pieces.
Exactly. Well, I'm excited to see what Kyle Kuzma is going to bring to the table this season. But I'm excited to see all of these members of the young core. Like you said, they've all been working extremely hard, and I think they deserve the chance and they deserve the opportunity to really be able to showcase what they can do with the Lakers. And I think that is what that's what the front office is feeling like as of now as well. They want to give these guys their chance and they believe in them. And I think all of the fans believe in them. So I would prefer to see that, wait till the off season and then try to sign the star.
Now, one of the storylines that we're going to need to watch this season as we jump into this part of the show is the trade deadline. And the Lakers have a bunch of expiring contracts. They've got these veterans like Rondo. They've got KCP, who I've seen actually has sort of a de facto no trade clause. But then you also have guys like JaVale McGee. You've got Michael Beasley. You've got some pieces that you could potentially move without touching the young players. Do you think that the Lakers wind up making a move at the trade deadline if things are or maybe aren't going well? Do you think they wind up making some sort of a move to get LeBron more help right now?
If things aren't going well and the Lakers are losing more games, then I definitely could see them possibly, doing a trade. But if things are going well, I don't see them really disrupting that. And I think that the Lakers really do want to remain patient and want to try to wait for the offseason. But if things aren't going well, then you just never know, because I know the Lakers and I know they want to win now. So if we're losing games and we're not meeting expectations, there are huge expectations for this team this year. And if they are not meeting those expectations, then I can bet that there are going to definitely be some changes being made.
Yeah, I think that given what we've seen from Rob Pelinka and Magic Johnson, they've been very aggressive. They made moves whenever possible. Magic Johnson was on the job for maybe a day and a half when he pulled his first trade, sending Lou Williams to Houston in exchange for Corey Brewer and a draft pick, which eventually became Kyle Kuzma. So that was a nice pick. That pick actually became Josh Hart. Yep, the Kuzma pick came in the Brook Lopez trade with D'Angelo Russell and Timofey Mozgov. I got those two trades crossed for just a second. Where am I? Where's my head with my Lakers history? Come on. But anyway, the Lakers are in a nice situation coming up here. They can make maybe a small move, and maybe Magic and Pelinka do that. But it's also possible that if the opportunity is there, they could swing a big deal. But I just think they need time. They need time to be able to see how these young guys mesh with LeBron. I don't think they're going to just hop out on the court at the end of September, preseason game 1, and everything's just going to be perfect. I think it takes time to build chemistry, and I think Magic Johnson, of all people, is going to understand that.
Oh, of course. No one is expecting them to, immediately come out and start winning every game and beating Golden State Warriors and beating every single team out there. It's definitely going to take time, especially with our young core, which I'm expecting these members of the young core to really have a big role with the team. It's definitely going to take time. It's going to take some time to develop team chemistry and gel. And that is why I am so excited for training camp to start soon, because I think we're going to get a little bit of a better idea. I know there are still so many question marks regarding this team. And I think the training camp, once that starts, we're going to be able to get a little bit more of a better understanding. And it's going to be an especially crucial time period for these young players to really be able to get a chance to play together and try to absorb and learn as much as possible, because this is pretty much an entirely new team. We have a lot of new pieces, a lot of new key pieces, and it is going to take some time to really kind of get everything into a good groove.
Yeah, it's not something that's going to happen overnight. And, when you were looking at this, they could wind up moving some of these young pieces, but I really think that they're going to be patient overall. I think that's going to be the theme for the Lakers, is patience as they are building this. And then hopefully they will add another piece come next summer. Now, obviously, if they add somebody, they're adding them to LeBron. So in addition to looking at trades, another big storyline this season is going to be not just how does LeBron adapt to the Lakers, but how do the Lakers adapt to LeBron? How do they, and how does Luke Walton run a lineup around him? How do they deal with the expectations? These young guys are going to have some new pressure on them, because every single night they're going to get the other team's best shot. Right? The other team's going to be fired up to be playing against LeBron James. And so they're going to get the other team's very best. And they've got to adapt to learning how to play with LeBron James and playing effectively with LeBron James. Expectations are now through the roof. So what do you think? How long is it going to take the Lakers to figure out how to play with LeBron James? And do you think it's going to be smooth sailing, or are we going to see a lot of bumps along the way? What's it going to be like with LeBron in-house now?
Well, I'm sure there are going to be some bumps. I mean, it's to be expected. We've got a bunch of young players, but at the end of the day, it really is going to be up to the young core, in my opinion, because we already kind of know what we're going to get from guys like veterans like Lance Stevenson, Michael Beasley, KCP, JaVale McGee. We already kind of know those players. We know what they can do. And I think there's not going to be too much learning, playing with LeBron. I feel like that's going to be easier. It's really going to come down to our young core, and our young core is going to be our second, third options. And if for some reason, Brandon Ingram, Kuzma, Lonzo Hart, if they're not performing at the level that we are expecting them to, and they have any setbacks, then the Lakers could be in trouble, because it really is going to come down to them. And if the Lakers are going to meet or exceed expectations this year, and obviously, like we all know, there are a lot of expectations. Mm-hmm. We are expected to make a deep playoff run, maybe even contend for a championship. You never know. I really think it's going to take that young core growing up fast and being able to make those improvements. So I am expecting there to be some road bumps along the way, but I'm really hoping that we're going to be able to, learn and get this together as fast as we can.
We're going to take a quick break to talk about RXBAR. Guys, this is one of my favorite new protein bars. The way this works is they put everything that is in their bar right on the front of their packaging, staring you right in the face. You know what you're putting in your body, which is so important in this day and age. They have egg whites for protein, date nuts to bind, nuts for texture, other delicious ingredients like unsweetened chocolate, real fruit, and spices like sea salt or cinnamon. It's gluten-free, soy-free, dairy-free. It's amazing. A really, really incredible protein bar. It's something I've been eating quite a bit of. I'm using it as a mid-afternoon snack. You may want to take it for breakfast on the go. Super portable, easy to just throw in your pocket, throw in your bag, and go. I've been trying to get into better shape and lifting weights, been doing all of that. And it's so important when you're working out that you get enough protein in your system to actually build muscle. And RXBAR is a great way to do just that. And they really taste good. My favorite right now is peanut butter chocolate, but I was surprised by how much I liked blueberry. I'm not really the type that likes the kind of fruity flavors, but blueberry really stood out. It's probably my second favorite. So my recommendation would be, if you're going to try RXBAR, and I certainly think you should, then try all of them. Try all the different flavors, because you may find, like me, that one that you don't expect to like all that much ends up being one of your favorites. And one of the best things is that right now, just because you're listening to this show, you can actually get 25% off your first order. Just go to rxbar.com/LakersNation, enter the code LakersNation at checkout. Again, get 25% off your first order. Again, rxbar.com/LakersNation, enter that code LakersNation at checkout. Go check them out. Very, very worth it. One of my favorite new brands. I really think that, in spite of what everybody has said about the lack of three-point shooting, because that's what everybody harped on immediately once the Lakers started really putting the pieces together, and they picked up Rondo and McGee and Lance Stevenson. I mean, it raised eyebrows. People were screaming from the mountaintops, "Oh my gosh, what are the Lakers doing?" Saying that they made some terrible moves afterwards. I don't think necessarily it's about shooting, which I do think that KCP and Josh Hart and Brandon Ingram, these guys are better shooters than what they're getting credit for. But I think that what the Lakers have put together is a team that can manage LeBron's minutes and take some of the burden off of him without sacrificing their cap flexibility moving forward, which is not an easy thing to do. You look at LeBron with his Cleveland teams, where he was having to run everything. He was initiating the offense. The ball was constantly in his hand. Well, the Lakers have Lonzo. The Lakers have Rondo. The Lakers have Brandon Ingram. Lance Stevenson can initiate an offense a little bit. They've got all these other pieces that can do that, that can ease some of that burden. And I think that's going to be crucial. I think it's going to be so important, because LeBron has, at this point, he's 20th, Hannah, 20th overall in minutes played in NBA history.
Wow.
It's insane. He's 20th in NBA history, 44,298 minutes played. The only player that's right now playing in the NBA that has played more minutes than LeBron is Dirk. And to make it even worse, LeBron played more, or averaged more minutes than anyone in the league last season. And he went all the way through a long playoffs, and he's turning 34 in December. So I think the Lakers have actually done a pretty good job of putting together a team that can now protect their new greatest asset being LeBron James. At least that's the way I see this, and the way they've constructed this roster. I think they've got a team that can not just help LeBron find success, and LeBron can help them find success, but they've got a team that can take some of that weight off of his shoulders.
Exactly. And that is so important this season, is really being able to kind of cut down on some of LeBron's minutes, because we have LeBron James for at least 3 years, and we want to be able to have him at his best during those 3 years. And if he has another season where he is playing, almost every single minute of the game, that toll that it takes on your body, who knows what it's going to be like come next year or come 3 years. And, we want to try to preserve LeBron James as much as possible. So we're going to have to cut down on his minutes. I know the Lakers coaching staff, and they've said that they want to try to keep his minutes around 35. So I'm hopeful that all of our players are going to be able to contribute. We're not going to have too many setbacks, too many injuries, anything like that. So we're going to be able to manage LeBron's minutes, because again, I do agree with you. I do think we have a team that was built to try to give LeBron, have him be able to not play as many minutes. So it's definitely going to be one of the keys to the season for sure.
Now, if LeBron let's say LeBron decides to rest. Let's say they rest him on a few, maybe second night of a back-to-back on the road or something like that. Who do you think can really step into his role on the team? I mean, nobody can be LeBron, but who could you see filling into his role? Because I think there's a few guys who could do it.
Well, you know who I'm going to say. I mean, I would think, who do you expect me to say? I would think that then Kyle Kuzma would be the starter. That's what I would think. I mean, he has that scoring ability. He's obviously not a LeBron James player yet. You never know what he's going to be like. I'm expecting big things from Kuz, obviously, but I think Kuzma's the next best option to be a starter if LeBron James does sit second night of a back-to-back, which I'm kind of hoping he does, if the Lakers are able to provide him that luxury, if we're playing well, and if, we're in a situation where we're able to win without him, we're going to have to see how the season goes. But if we're able to do that, I would like to do that. And I think Kyle Kuzma is the perfect guy to take over for that starting spot.
Now, that reminds me of something that I wanted to ask you about, Hannah, because Kyle Kuzma, pretty interesting. Kuzma had a recent piece by Mike Trudell that showed up on Lakers.com. And Kuzma mentioned in that article that he has been basically preparing to be more of a wing in the NBA, more of a small forward. That surprised me. I assumed that if Kuzma was doing anything this season, it would be bulking up more so that he could be more of a center, because that's what the Lakers need. Not that he's a center, by default, or that that's really what's, in his DNA. He's definitely more of a wing player, but just because that's what the Lakers would need. So Kuzma at small forward makes me kind of wonder here, what if Kuzma does start? And what if that slides Brandon Ingram up to the 2? I think most of the summer I've been approaching this as either KCP or Josh Hart is going to be the starting 2. And then you're going to have Ingram at the 3, LeBron at the 4, and then probably JaVale McGee at the 5 with Lonzo or Rondo at the 1. I think we could be thinking about this all wrong. If Kuzma has gotten as better as he has said he has, he says he's way better than he used to be last season. This summer, he's improved a ton. If he is, could you see a scenario where Kuzma actually forces the Lakers to start him? Luke Walton has to start him, and they just go with this big, insanely switchable lineup with Lonzo at the 1, Ingram at the 2, Kuzma at the 3, LeBron at the 4, and then JaVale at the 5.
Oh man, that would be interesting to see. That's actually something that's pretty interesting, because JaVale McGee is kind of a guy that I actually wanted to talk a little bit about, because I think if he's able to stay on the court, I think he's going to have a big year. I feel like JaVale McGee knows that he's 30. It's kind of his make or break season for him. And I know he's been really in the Lakers practice room. He's been killing it. He's been working hard like crazy. He actually recently joked that he's going to be the fastest 7-footer in the league. So we'll see what happens. I don't know if JaVale may be, seeing something we don't all see right now.
Well, but that's a good thing on a running team. That's something the Lakers can use.
Exactly. If his asthma can hold up. I mean, that's always been his biggest setback, and that's why he hasn't been able to average as many minutes as I'm sure he would like. But I'm kind of expecting JaVale McGee to have a big season this season if he's able to stay on the court. So that's actually an interesting scenario. I could see that.
It would be interesting. The rebounding would be excellent with that much size on the floor, and we already know Lonzo is a great rebounder at the point guard position. So is Rondo. So I think that's another storyline that we need to touch upon real quick, is the starting lineup. We really don't know exactly which way Luke Walton is going to go with it. I mean, I think back to last season, we were set that Julius Randle was going to be the starting power forward. And then it ended up being Larry Nance Jr. to start the season. He kind of threw a curve at us. So you never know what Luke Walton is going to do. And I think that if that's been Kuzma's focus, I wouldn't be surprised if that winds up becoming reality, or at least a lineup that the Lakers do go ahead and play around with. All right, let's talk a little bit about these young guys and who's going to step up. Because we've talked about LeBron, we've talked about protecting him, we've talked about managing his minutes, but ultimately, if the Lakers are going to find success, LeBron's got to be LeBron, but then somebody else, another player, has got to step up and become kind of his Robin, right? His Robin to his Batman. And when you look at the veterans that are on the team, it's unlikely. I mean, KCP, I think he's going to have a great season. It's unlikely that he makes the leap to become like that second tier star player, right? That's probably not going to happen. JaVale McGee, not going to happen. Rondo, those days are behind him. Those guys are not going to be the guys to make that leap. Ingram, Kuzma, Lonzo, Josh Hart all could potentially make a leap like that to varying degrees. So of that group, who do you think is the most likely to step up and become, say, LeBron's Pippen to his Jordan?
I don't want to just keep saying Kyle Kuzma. Listen,
You're going with Kuzma.
Let's just forget about it. Let's just pretend Kuzma's not on the table, because I don't want to spend the whole podcast talking about Kuzma. Obviously, I would love it to be Brandon Ingram. I'm expecting Brandon Ingram to have a huge year this year. Obviously, we saw him make a huge jump last season from his rookie season. I know he's been training really hard. He's been trying to get stronger. I know he's preparing for this role because he's probably going to be the Lakers' second option going into this season. You never know what happens as the season's moving forward. I would like it to be Brandon Ingram, but I could also see it be Josh Hart. We have seen Josh Hart just be such an amazing player and really take such a big step forward, even just towards the end of last season, continuing on to the summer league. We saw him come off an amazing summer league. He was MVP of the entire summer league. He looked like a leader out there. He looked like, and I think I said this in a video or a podcast I did recently, but he looked like a man playing with little boys out there. He just looked like he had really made a big jump. And I know he's been working out really hard. He's gotten even better since summer league. So I want to say if Kuzma's off the table, we already know what I think about Kuzma. We know I'm expecting big things from him. I want to see Kuzma play, the entire game, but that isn't realistic. I'm going to say Brandon Ingram or Josh Hart. I would love to see Lonzo be able to step it up as well. I think he's one of the biggest question marks going into the season, and with him, it's just going to depend on if he can remain healthy. But if he is, then I have big expectations for Lonzo Ball. But at the end of the day, I really think it's going to take all of the members of the young core to really be stepping up and really making big leaps, because I think, we've, like you kind of touched on a little bit, we already know what KCP can do, what Michael Beasley can do, Lance Stevenson, JaVale McGee. We already kind of know what they can do. And obviously they're going to have some role with our team, but I think our main second options are going to be our members of the young core. So I think it is really going to be a collective effort from all of this. But if I had to just pick one, I want to say Kyle Kuzma, but if I can't pick him, then I'm going to say probably Brandon Ingram and then Josh Hart.
I mean, that's fair. I can see where Kuzma could be the guy to step up. I would vote Ingram. I think Ingram's skill set is so versatile. He's just a Swiss Army knife out there on the floor. And I think that even though he's not the guy posting his workouts all over Instagram and stuff like that, that's not really his personality. I think he's probably grown quite a bit over the offseason. We've heard stories about his work ethic. So I think Ingram could be that guy to make the leap. Speaking of Hart, have you seen the workout pictures of Josh Hart that came out in the last few weeks? Have you seen how he is ridiculously shredded?
Oh yeah, no, he looks amazing.
Like, he was always in good shape, but now he looks like one of the Spartans from the movie 300. You know what I'm talking about?
That's exactly what I thought. That is so funny. When I saw the pictures for the first time, that's exactly what I said. That's hilarious.
He looks like he's ready to Spartan kick somebody into like a bottomless pit somewhere. Like, he's that level of just absolutely ripped. So, he already had that kind of, that strong build to him. And KCP is a little bit more slight. Not that he's a slim guy or he's overly skinny or anything like that, but Hart just kind of has that extra muscle to him that it's going to be interesting to see how that battle plays out, because they both have different advantages and disadvantages. But I'm excited to see Hart finishing around the rim now that he's got this extra strength to him, because he was already strong, but now he looks like he's just taking his conditioning to a whole other level. Really impressive stuff. Lonzo Ball's jumper obviously is going to be big for him if he can start hitting that. I mean, look, I've been saying this for a while. He's already a phenomenal defender. If he just becomes an average offensive player, then you've got one heck of a point guard, right? He's that good defensively, and I think people underrate him there. It's not noticed enough what he does on the defensive end. If he's just an average offensive player, that's all you need, and you've got an amazing player. So I'm looking for a nice jump there from him as well. But if I had to pin it on one guy, I'd say Brandon Ingram. Let's talk about Svi and Mo. Svi Mykhailiuk, Mo Wagner, do these guys find minutes on the floor? Because you know what? I think on Twitter, I get more questions about Svi Mykhailiuk than anyone else on the team not named LeBron, which, I think is telling. That's pretty incredible.
Interesting. I actually think I get the most on Zubats.
Well, but okay, taking out the Zubats zealots.
Yeah.
There's some crazy people out there on Twitter that believe Zubats is the second coming of Kareem, and yeah, it's madness. But removing all the zoo bots out there, I'd say it's Svi. Would you agree?
Oh, yeah. No, I think people are really excited about Svi, and for a good reason, too. We're also just seeing, he just played with Ukraine versus Spain, where he put up 22 points. He had 5 boards, 3 assists, 5 steals. He shot 5 for 9 from 3. We obviously saw him shoot lights out from 3 during the summer league. We even saw his fellow rookies voted him the second best shooter in the entire rookie class. So I think
how does he get second?
I don't know.
Understand that. I get it, right? Svi is more of a spot up shooter. But he had the best 3-point percentage in college, right? Coming out of college, he had the best 3-point percentage of anybody in the class. He was shooting 44% from 3. He lights it up in summer league, and then they vote him the second best. Come on. Give Svi a little love here.
I know, but regardless, Svi looks like he's going to be a really good player. So it looks like the Lakers are going to have to try to find enough minutes for him. I don't necessarily know, Trevor. Maybe you have the answer. I don't know how they're going to be able to do this. For the first time in a really long time, the Lakers just have such a deep team where it's going to be really hard finding all of these players minutes. But it's looking like with Svi, we're going to have to, because he's looking like he is lights out from 3. And that is exactly the kind of player that the Lakers need this season.
Oh, from seeing Svi's jumper up close at Summer League, I spent probably about 20 minutes standing on the baseline, on the floor, watching Svi warm up and shoot jumpers. And it was like, I was mesmerized. Couldn't move. I'm just watching Svi in every single shot, the same motion. And it's just a pretty jump shot. It flows. He's got all the mechanics down. You can tell he's put in a ton of work in his jumper, and he is able to be consistent with it. And I think that's so key for a shooter. Ultimately, it's going to be on Luke Walton to figure out what he's going to do. Is he going to put in a guy like Svi? And if he does, whose minutes are being sacrificed? I think that's a good problem to have. That's a really good problem for Luke Walton to have, but it's a problem nonetheless. It's something that he's going to have to work through. But if Svi can play his way into minutes, I think he's going to surprise some people because he's better defensively than I thought he was coming out of Kansas. He's better on the boards than I thought he was. He's a smarter player. I talked to him during the summer league, and he revealed that he played point guard growing up. So this is a guy where if you give him the ball in the middle of the court and tell him to run a fast break, he can do it. He can do it. He's not a next level guard. He's not going to throw a crazy Magic Johnson style no look pass or anything like that, but he can do it and do it comfortably. I think he's way more versatile than he gets credit for. So if Svi does get an opportunity, I could see him really turning some heads.
I'm really hoping he gets the opportunity. And it's so funny because when the Lakers drafted him, I remember actually we were talking, I think we were texting, we were like, oh gosh, I mean, I didn't know that much about him. I was kind of like, great, another guy.
We were worried about the name.
Exactly. I'm like, we have to go do this podcast now and I can't pronounce this guy's name. So that was my only concern. And now I'm so excited that they drafted him because he's looking like he could be one of the biggest steals in the draft.
Absolutely. Yes. I mean, he definitely does. I'm really impressed with him. He was the standout to me in Summer League, aside from Josh Hart. I thought he was the guy that was really impressive. Mo Wagner did a great job as well in Summer League. If he can play center, I think he could give Zoo a real run for the backup center minutes.
Yeah, Zubats is kind of a make or break year for him. I mean, I'm also seeing him. He has looked good when he's been playing for Croatia. He's looked strong. He's looked quick. But I'm kind of a Zubats fan. I really want to give him one more chance. So I'm hoping this is kind of going to be the year where he's able to put it all together. But I do also want to see Mo Wagner get some minutes. And it's going to be interesting. I think he's definitely going to be able to see some minutes in that center position. I'm not really 100% sold on Mo Wagner yet. I do like some things about him, but I didn't think his shooting was all that impressive during the summer league. Obviously, we then saw him get injured, so I wasn't really able to get a great grasp on Mo Wagner. But I do like him, and I do want to see him get those, minutes because I do think he's a pretty talented player, and he does have a lot of potential. So it's definitely going to be interesting getting into the season, Trevor. I do not want to be Luke Walton right now. That's all I can say.
I mean, it's gonna be a blast. I can't wait for this season. And on Mo Wagner, I can say this: he is quicker than I thought he was. His foot speed is better than I thought it was going to be. He stuck with Kevin Knox defensively during summer league. He really battles on the inside. He plays like a maniac out there on the floor, and at the same time plays like there is nowhere else in the world that he would rather be in that moment. I mean, he is all over the place, and just the look on his face says that he's loving every second of it, just crashing into people, diving on the floor. I think he's going to be a fan favorite. But again, Zoo deserves an opportunity too. He was so good his rookie year, and I was so impressed with him. I'd like to see him bounce back as well. Hannah, before we get out of here, let's wrap up with one final topic. We've talked about LeBron and his minutes. We've talked about the young guys. We talked about potential trades. Let's talk about the veterans that were brought in this summer. Okay, so we're talking Rajon Rondo, JaVale McGee, Lance Stevenson, Michael Beasley. These guys, this motley crew, this island of misfit toys that was brought in to be a veteran presence on the team and provide the kids with a little bit of guidance. It's a little strange because these aren't guys that you would typically think of as like that in that light. Sometimes they've been known as kind of troublemakers and things like that. But what's your take? Are these guys going to be the right fit for the Lakers?
What do you mean? You mean they didn't bring in Lance Stevenson to teach all these young players how to meditate? I thought that was his main assignment this season.
All I know is that they brought in Lance Stevenson to make my Instagram feed amazing because he has the best Instagram account ever.
That is awesome. That's so funny. Okay, well, I mean, in terms of their leadership, listen, obviously they're going to be able to provide leadership because they're passionate players. Some of those guys have had successful playoff experience, at least with McGee, Rondo, and Stevenson. They've been able to go far with their teams for playoff experience, and that gives them, already a lot of knowledge and stuff there. But we've always had veteran presence and veteran leadership these last few years. We've had these other veterans. We had Brooke Lopez. We've had a bunch of guys who are really kind of able to be these veteran leaders. And now I think it's really up to the young core to be able to step up and really be able to prove themselves on the court. So obviously having these guys around to help these young players develop and they can learn from them, it's obviously a great experience for them. But at the end of the day, I don't think that not having veteran leadership has been a problem for the Lakers. I think we've always been able to have certain guys who have been great mentors for our players. But I think now it's time for our young guys to really step it up. Besides Rondo, though, I do think that Rondo could be a great mentor for Lonzo Ball if, it all works out.
Rondo is already pulling your boy Kuzma into the film room right now, too. We've been hearing about that.
Right? Yeah, I think if one player that I think is really going to have that leadership, I think it's going to be Rajon Rondo. In terms of, JaVale and McGee and Stevenson and Beasley, I think they're obviously going to be, it's great to have them there and, the guys can pick their brains and they'll be able to help them and stuff. But I think Rajon Rondo is really going to be that main veteran besides LeBron James, obviously, that's able to provide that leadership.
I get why people were concerned when the Lakers brought in these guys. And I think that Luke Walton's got to be careful because all of these guys are in contract years, right? So they literally have millions of dollars riding on this season. And if they're not getting minutes and a guy like Svi let's say Svi is getting minutes over Lance Stevenson or over Michael Beasley or over somebody else, is that going to create an issue? Or maybe not. Right? Maybe Beasley and Stevenson and these guys know that they've got that reputation out there for not being the best locker room guys. And so they stay on their best behavior and they use it as an opportunity to prove that whole narrative wrong. Maybe it goes that way, but it's, Luke is going to have a balancing act here in terms of team chemistry. Now, I do love Rondo's addition here, right? He's not the shooter that a lot of people expected. But you go back and you look at what he did with the New Orleans Pelicans. You look at the pace that he played with when DeMarcus Cousins went down. You look at the hit-ahead passes that he threw, very similar to Lonzo Ball. And last season, you think about the Lakers with the backup point guard, it's Tyler Ennis, Alex Caruso. Those guys can't replicate what Lonzo does. They can't. That's not their style of play. Rondo can. Rondo can play that fast-breaking style. And so I think the Lakers now can have a little bit more consistency between Lonzo and Rondo kind of running the show, in addition to, of course, LeBron and Brandon Ingram, these other guys that can handle the ball. So I think that's going to be really interesting. Overall, we've heard from Luke Walton that one of his goals for training camp is to put the young guys against the old guys, right? The veterans. So let's break that down. Let's do a hypothetical scrimmage game here, Hannah. Who do you think would win? All right, let's break up the sides. So help me here. If the young guys were to create a 5-man roster, you would have what? Lonzo, Josh Hart at the 2, Brandon Ingram at the 3. I guess you got to go Kuzma at the 4, and then Zoo at the 5. Yeah. Right? Am I missing anybody there?
No, I think that would be
your 5.
Lineup, yeah.
And then if you look at the vets, you've got Rondo at the point guard. The 2, you would have KCP is only 25, but we still throw him in with the vets. So we put him in there, shooting guard. Okay, at the small forward, I guess you're going Lance. At power forward, you got to go with LeBron, and then at center, JaVale McGee. How do you think that 5-on-5 game plays out?
I think whoever has LeBron James wins. But, it's definitely going to be interesting because the thing that I love about our young guys is they do not go down without a fight, and they are all so hungry and such passionate players that it's definitely going to be one heck of a game. And I would love to, I'm sure we're going to see footage from it, but I would love to be in that room while they're playing because they are going to be going at it. But I think ultimately whoever has LeBron James wins. But if you put LeBron James in with our young players, then you slide LeBron James in instead of Zubac, then that's 100% the winning team. But right. I think it's just going to be hard for our young players to beat LeBron.
Agreed. Yeah. I can see where that could be an issue. And Rondo is so good at organizing a team, especially just in kind of a pickup situation. You put Rondo on the floor, he's going to get all the guys in the right spots. He's going to get everything organized. And so I think that's probably the group that will take it, but you never know. You made a point there. You said that the young guys are going to kind of have this fire and everything. And that's something that I've thought about too. These young guys, they've been hearing for months now that they're not good enough, right? From all the talking heads, they've all been saying, why did LeBron come to the Lakers? It's because it's for other reasons. It's for Hollywood. It's for all these other things because he's got a house there. It's not because of basketball. Well, that's kind of a slap in the face to all of these young guys. They're saying they're not good enough for LeBron to be a part of this team, and LeBron can't win with this squad. So I think we're going to see a fired up young Lakers core.
Oh, 100%. I know that all of the critiques and all the negative things people say about, our young core, I know that fuels them. It fuels guys like Kyle Kuzma, Josh Hart. I'm sure Brandon Ingram, even though he's a little bit more low key about it and not as vocal as Josh Hart and Kyle Kuzma are. And obviously Lonzo too. I know that is something that motivates them. I know Kyle Kuzma's already said, what did he say the other day? He said something like, because he didn't make SI's top 100 list. And he's like, well, let's see what they say next year. I know that kind of stuff, they feed off of that. So I'm so excited to see it because I have no doubts in my mind. I don't know if you do, Trevor. I don't think you do. I have no doubts in my mind that these guys are going to be stars in this league. So I'm actually kind of excited. And I think it's hilarious when the media likes to bash them and say, they're not going to be anything. Kyle Kuzma's already peaked. He'll never be anything than a sixth man, because I think at the end of the day, the people who say that just clearly have no Lakers knowledge. They may have basketball knowledge, but they don't know the Lakers, and they don't see what we see. They don't see what we know that these guys are putting into. So I know they're going to prove all of those guys wrong, and I cannot wait for them to do it.
I mean, look, I think it's fair to question whether or not these guys can do it, but I just think they're going to be playing with a chip on their shoulder. I'm really excited to see what they can bring, and I want to see them prove all the doubters wrong. I think that's one of the storylines that I'm going to be really excited for this season. Well, Hannah, I think we've covered a ton. We've talked about trades. We've talked about LeBron. We've talked about the young guys, the veterans, all of these different storylines that are going to be front and center here once the NBA season starts. Thank you so much for hopping on here and helping me get through all of this.
Of course, Trevor. Thank you so much for having me on. I am so excited for the season to start. We are so close to training camp. And I think once training camp starts, we're going to be able to get hopefully a little bit of a clearer understanding of some of our questions answered. So I'm very excited for it. It's going to be a great season.
Absolutely. Cannot wait. Start the season already. Well, I think that's going to wrap things up for today, guys. Make sure you head over to rxbar.com/LakersNation. Use that promo code LakersNation. Get 25% off your first order of some amazing protein bars. And head over to LakersNation.com for everything Lakers. My name's Trevor Lane. You can follow me on Twitter at Trevor_Lane. My guest today was Hannah Kulik. Follow her on Twitter at Hannah_Kulik. Till next time, see ya.